It's a time for pick it from China. Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. In today's video, we are going to be doing a chit chat about the Game TV box. And there is not a lot of information about it. Let's see what it says underneath. No, nothing really fancy or any information. V5, or this is the Game Box V5. Yeah, there are so many different names of this thing. However, it is a little bit of a messy situation with these devices. So this is actually an Android box that they're converting into a game system. We have seen a couple of them here on the channel, but the question remains, is it any good? Unfortunate, we're having these cheap non-generic brands, and the main problem is they can get corrupted out of nothing. So having over here HDMI and RJ45, the input for the DC, the input over here for the power supply, the AV out, that doesn't work not every single time. That is a little bit of a weird thing going on. 2 USB ports for the connection of the controller, and that's it. The overall quality is very lightweighted. So it seems to be that we're having only one dongle and 2 controller situation. So let's see what we're having more. We have in here the remote, because we can use it like an Android box. I would not really recommend it. Most of these have like very strange, let's say, Android versions. So I would just use it as it is for a game system. However, this is just a general toilet paper manual with no explanation whatsoever. So the controllers, so this is the fake PlayStation 2 controller. Yep, it's not like the cheapest version out there. Some of them even have like these plastic joysticks, so it's okay. But you can just feel that the wibbly, like L and R2 buttons are absolutely horrible. The compartment over here are like sometimes really difficult to open up, needing 2 AAA batteries. And when you're going to be implementing them in the device itself, you can turn it on and off. So yeah, what is a little bit of a downside, if you're going to be forgetting to turn it off, it will basically drain your batteries, or at least with the previous models I had this problem. So next up, we're having the power supply. This is the European version. There are sometimes different versions you can click on the stores. 12 volt, 1 amp, so very lightweighted. That always weighs nothing. But that's actually what we're getting. So let's plug it in. The dongle itself. We still have one USB port ready to go, so we can make it 4, or at least we can even use it with 4 controllers if you want to and configure it, but that is not the case. We're only having 2 of them. So what is kind of cool that we have an on and off switch, and seriously, like that is something of a not uncommon situation. However, let's plug it in and let's see if it's any good. Hey, seems to be that we're having a new intro. That is interesting, showcasing some game that are absolutely not on here. I love these weird game boxes with the random, like, strange intros. Love it how they have this 3D game stick situation. Oh, I also have the Angry Birds at the background music. Oh man, so the configuration, we have seen this before with different game sticks, game boxes, but also handhelds. And what you're getting is quite interesting. So different. Okay, this is just actually having like say extra menu at the back. So we do have favorites. Let's go. There's, oh, it's very slow. Sinclair, all games, favorites, Place Portable, Dreamcast, and Sega Genesis, DS, N64, PlayStation, MAME, Capcom Classics, and then Neo Geo Arcade, Super NES, we're having the Game Boy Advance, Mega Drive, NES, the Classic and the Color, Pocket, Neo Geo, Sega Game Gear. So there is a lot of different stuff in here. That's nuts. A lot of devices that I didn't see before on these cheap, very cheap boxes. So that's kind of cool. Even some Atari's on here, Game & Watch, Sega Genesis. And what is cool that I noticed here, some hacks of the NES. And that's it. So there is actually a lot of different platforms. So pressing start, we're getting the emulator video, or sorry, no! Let's do that again. So let's press select and start. We'll give you the system change. Only emulator video ratio that can be changed, let's say, with a certain platform, if you're going to be choosing that first. Options more, language settings. So we do have different languages. Controller settings, here we can configure all of your buttons, but also the different controller. So that's kind of cool. And quit. So there's nothing much you can do. It's a completely locked system. But not like a bad thing, because if you don't want to mess around with any of it, it's great, it's just fine. So when you're going to be looking into some different systems and you want to search a game, you can press X. It will load up the search, or it will load up the search, but takes forever. So let's search for a Sonic game. And in this case, you can fairly easy look into this. I must say the menu looks kind of nice. Going all the way left, you can go to the list. It also shows what kind of systems, like they have in here for Sonic Wing Special for the PlayStation, Sonic Rush for the Nintendo or the NDS. Then over here having Game Boy Advance. And if you're going to be clicking it, it will boot up into the game. So one thing is sure, they are using this weird, strange filter. And they're actually like implementing it, because otherwise it looks completely hideous on bigger screens. We do have like 4:3 aspect ratio, so no widescreen shenanigans. So that is absolutely great. No audio delay or any problems, because that's one of the things they love to mess up with these devices. Pressing select or start will give you the option to make a quick load, quick save. And in this case we can go back to the main menu itself. But let's join the party with handhelds and let's go with the Sonic game. I have loved to play this game, this is so much fun. However, we have the left joystick set to the touchscreen, which you can just see over here. Pressing L1 we can switch to the different modes. But what is kind of cool, you can L1, we can even have the option to switch them another way. But what I did notice, like you can actually use only one screen. So let's say you just want to have one screen, you can just play like that. So you can switch between it. Personally, I don't really love doing this. That's one of the reasons why. But you can switch fairly easy by pressing L1. So it's kind of funny and a different way to actually play. Oh, where am I? Oh, there I am. But I just love to prefer to play these games on original NDS. But it is kind of cool, and if you're going to get used to the switching, you can actually play this game and just enjoy it. Oh, nope, there he is. But how about some arcade stuff? So if you're going to be looking into this, so first of all, how is the controller actually being, how is the controller? Let's do a move. Yeah, it's quite difficult to get my moves out of the D-pad, so the D-pad is awful. So overall the controller quality is absolutely not something you want to have with this game box. I wish they stopped using these things, because the input of the D-pad is not great. Some of them are like smelly, really chemical. But the emulation performance of some Neo Geo arcades seems to be working just fine. With MAME we do have all kinds of cool games that we can play. However, Killer Instinct and some more demanding games like Tekken MAME will not run on this box. And maybe there were a couple of them I'm still missing out. However, there are like thousands of old school games that can be played without any problem. They all use the same kind of, let's say, filter, where it looks a little bit less pixelated. But so far the D-pad as the analog stick seems to be configured correctly. And everything seems to be working plug and play. So that's kind of cool. But it's just crazy to think about that we have these very cheap game sticks that actually has some overall good emulation performance. So we can change out the overall, let's say, the filter. That would be cool, but they completely locked us out when it comes to this main menu itself. But emulation performance is just perfect with all of the 8-bit, 16-bit stuff so far. I have tested it out. So that is no problem whatsoever. But 16-bit stuff, man, that runs absolutely great. And also when it comes to some old school Sega Genesis. So I find it really fascinating to see how far we have come with the power of the, let's say, the mini PCs, the game boxes or the game stick, or this, let's say, tiny game box. And I think it also has to do with the community that have spent countless hours of getting these, let's say, emulators to run on these devices now. It's just not, if you think about it. And by the way, for once I'm not pressing the special power button. I'm guessing that is, this is the jump button. Ah, there he is. But let's get in some on Thomas Wave with some of our Thomas Wave Naomi system. Ah, had a brain fart over there. But a Nome system with some very cool old school Power Stone 2. Man, this is such a cool game. And I still love to play it on my Sega Dreamcast and my other systems. However, when you're looking at this particular game, the overall emulation is kind of janky. You can sometimes hear the audio has problems. You can just hear it in the beginning, so that's quite unfortunate. So it's just pushing this device to the limit. And you know, that is something I have seen many times now, is that what a lot of these devices have great performance with 8-bit, 16-bit, but getting into some Atomic Wave or you know, some Dreamcast, we just struggle. They should just remove it, because this is not the way how you want to experience these games for the first time sometimes. So let's get into the Sega Dreamcast then. Let's see how it is run. Yeah, you can just hear the same jankiness when it comes to the audio quality. And it also means that it drops in frames like crazy. So Dreamcast is, when it comes to the more demanding games, completely unplayable, or at least maybe in two-dimensional games will have okay performance. But also oh man, the joystick doesn't really respond that great. That has to do maybe of the overall performance of the game. So PlayStation Portable is actually a kind of pointless system, because most of these games can be played with one player, or all of them. The overall performance is absolutely horrible. You can just see how low frame per second this game is. And also had a lot of, let's say, glitches in the beginning. It's kind of unfortunate. So PlayStation Portable should be removed, but a certain amount of games, like Tekken 5, 6, you know, where this is actually playable, you can see a lot of like glitches in some parts. Maybe there are some other games that can be played and are not that demanding. For example, the PlayStation Portable Minis. My favorite game, Jetpack Joyride, is one of those mini games that are playable. So with a cheap game stick, they should add those games to them, not like the more demanding games. But as you can see, this runs perfectly. So these games, they don't like all that bad, where I'm always quite negative about these things, complaining or actually like bitching on these things sometimes. And, you know, there are a lot of good stuff to it too. I've been playing this game so much on my Android devices. But this is where these games are about, man. The gameplay. Oh crap! Yeah, I'm messing that up. However, you're getting the point with this. Let's try some Nintendo 64. The N64 is such an amazing device. So N64 is quite difficult to emulate, and particularly on these like cheaper game boxes. You can just see that the overall performance is not super bad. It has to do because the Cruising the World is a game that is not, let's say, really demanding, or at least runs on most overall, let's say, cheaper game boxes. Getting into the Cruising USA, GoldenEye, and all the other ones that have like a way more, let's say, problems with the cheaper game boxes will also have this with this model. However, I just wanted to show that there are actually some games are playable. Launch titles like Diddy Kong Racing are a possibility to actually play on this, and that's some fun. But as I'm making this part of the video, you can see there's not even a stuttering whatsoever. So that's not bad at all. But let's get this show on the road and let's see what we're having in the inside of it. Do I get the right screwdriver? No, this is not the right screwdriver. Let's see, I got the wrong one over here. But this particular box, and the overall emulation performance is not bad at all. I am kind of disappointed with the quality when it comes to the case. This thing feels really cheap. But yeah, I think this is what we can expect when these things are getting cheaper and cheaper. Where we started off with paying a lot of money with these game boxes, now they're just getting cheaper and cheaper every single year. And I think the biggest problem will be these XD cards. I've been reading up, so many people have the problem that this is just stop working after, like, say, a week or some months of use. So when it comes of use, it's sometimes also like an overall problem with the overall quality of the PCB, but they just glued to like cooling elements on this thing. It's like freaking hilarious. Oh, but yeah, in the end, it doesn't even matter if it can or cannot remove. These things are like glued. Yeah, this one is absolutely glued to it. But they're using the S905 chips, even the M, the L, like the really old ones. Like, but there's nothing much you can actually see. They're like really old Android boxes. They are reusing at this point for making a new game device. But what do I think of this game box? So first of all, this thing is a very cheap, very cheap paperweight, like little box. However, the performance are quite surprisingly good with many different 8-bit and 16-bit systems. However, with some more demanding stuff, it struggles, even with Dreamcast. There's nothing we can configure, there is just as is. We have like this minor say, option that we can switch between emulator, but the performance will be the same most of the time. And cheap SD card, man, I wish they upgrade them to real brands so we don't have the corrupted SD card problem in the future. Thank you all for watching, consider subscribing, let me know what you think of this, and it will be great to see you in the next video.